Everyone, I know it's almost coffee break, but if you want to have some talking points for the break, please pay attention. So during this morning, I heard people mentioning about VIS2023 in Oklahoma. 2022 is a U.S. midterm year which elects governors in 36 states, including Oklahoma. October was the exact time when the governor election between the Democratic and Republican candidates was heated up. In the US, the two parties represent the opposite ideologies and support for different policies. Voting is not compulsory. On the second day of the conference, October 17th, 538 predict that the Republican candidate, Kevin State, had a probability of 87 to win the governorship. After seeing this visualization, let me ask you some questions. If you were one of the 4 million people in Oklahoma, who do you think would be your governor for the next 4 years? If you are an eligible voter, would you cast your ballot for the candidate you support in this election? On election day midnight, the Associated Press called Kevin State to be the winner. Perhaps this is not very surprising. Let's turn our attention to Arizona. Because the Supreme Court overturned the Roe v. Wade on June 24th, the governor election result would decide abortion rights in the state. 1 week before election day, 538 predict that winning probabilities were 64 versus 36. The same questions. Who do you think would be the governor for the next 4 years? And would you vote? The vote counting in Arizona was delayed until a week after election day. The Associated Press called Katie Hobbs to be the winner. Now, are you surprised? So, U.S. elections are pretty much between the two parties. States like Arizona are called swing states because they tend to have similar voter support for the two parties, which makes the election outcome very uncertain. Just as first weather forecasts, media news outlets produce election forecasts and convey them using uncertainty visualizations, which are viewed by millions over and over. Like we just experienced, then it is a significant question of how these election forecast visualizations impact the general public in a real election and generate real-world consequences. Our work provides answers to this question. We show election forecast visualizations impacts on emotion, trust, and intentions before and after the US 2020 midterms. Emotion can drive political behaviors such as voting. Trust in election forecast can influence people's confidence in electoral systems. Showing outcome uncertainty may change people's intention to participate in elections or a potential real-world implications. To this end, we planned a longitudinal experiment in the midterms. We built our own forecast model for the governor election and maintained our own forecasting website. Today, I will take you back to the 5 weeks around election day to rewind our experiment and elections. 3 weeks before election day, if you are a prolific participant and live in these 15 states which have uncertain election outcomes, you are invited to provide baselines for your emotions and trust. This wave lasts for 12 days, and in total, 1,300 participants like you respond. Then, a few days after you finish wave 1, you receive a message inviting you to visit our focus website. You land on a map page and click on the state you live in, say Oklahoma, and then see a visualization of our forecast for the state. It shows you the estimated vote share distribution, and the visualization could be one of the 4, which we select as a minimum coverage of the design space. So you may see one quantile dot plot. Each of the 100 dots is a possible win outcome. You may also see two dot plot, which blends the two candidates' distribution together. You may see 2 intervals where gradients represent the probability density. You may see Plinko, which is an animation designed to let you experience uncertainty. So each ball bounce represents a Bernoulli distribution, and a sequence of bounces resembles a binomial distribution, which further approximates the normal focus distribution at the bottom. In your view, this website is nearly a professional produced one, and you answer the embedded survey questions and view other information such as polls and recommendations on this website. We hope to last for 16 days until November 8th election day 5 p.m. Together, near 1,000 participants like you return and respond. Now election is end. 1 week after election day, you are invited back to visit the website again. You see the results on both front page and each state's page. And you notice that the election result is part of the visualization. In one dot plot, the winner is one of the dots. In two dot plot, you see both the winner and loser dots. In two interval, the actual vote share is annotated onto the range. And finally, in Palenko, you see the winner dot is dropped with other dots. You see the same visualization in VIS3 and also answer similar survey questions. VIS3 run from 1 week after election day until 1 day before US Thanksgiving holiday. Together, near 900 participants like you return and provide responses. Now, the experiment ends. So during the 3 weeks, we collect 10 emotion items to generate positive, negative, and surprise emotion scales. We also collect cognitive and affective trust, as well as intentions to vote and campaign. Each item was on a 7-point Likert scale. Very briefly about our quantitative methods, we use multivariate ordinal regression. For example, for cognitive trust, the 5 items are called rate varies of the same model, and the model estimates the probability of selecting a label for each item, and the post-series of 5 items are averaged to generate a composite scale for cognitive trust. And the results are post-stratified to approximate the VIS2023 sense and to improve results representativeness. Now, let's look at our results. We have changes of emotions, trust, and intentions over time to answer the broader question about real-world impacts of election-focused visualizations. We also have breakdowns by visualization and partisan leaning to inspire future designs. Today, let's briefly look at emotion and the trust for the sake of time. So, we find that people's emotion change around elections. Their positive emotion increases over time. If we eliminate the time effects and look at the same day, then scene-focused visualizations intensify positive emotion. Also, people's trust changes over time. People's trust increases over time from seeing visualization in VIS2 to knowing the result in VIS3. If we break down the results, then we observe visualization and partisan effects. For example, in VIS2, people trust two intervals the most. However, if we subtract the two-party participants from each other, then we observe a partisan difference. Democrats trust focus similarly regardless of the winner. However, Republican trust focus more when their party is predicted to win, especially for one dot plot. We also have 4 sessions of qualitative results. For the sake of time, let's continue to look at the trust and distrust in election-focused visualizations. So, before election, the main reason for trust is the alignment with pre-existing knowledge or beliefs about election outcomes. The main reason for distrust include distrust in polls, low trust propensity, forecast complexity, and disagreement with prior knowledge. After election, the main reason for trust became forecast accuracy and alignment with their expectations. The main reason for distrust became visual complexity or ambiguity. So these are a glance at our results. We highlighted the effective and trust impacts of election-focused visualizations, but there are many other interesting results in the paper, which we invite the audience to read after this talk. For us, in hindsight, we realized that our model might be too good. Out of 33 states which we could predict, we were only wrong about Nevada. In the future, should we nudge the model to get sufficient data for a wrong forecast? Would that be ethical? Also, it's really difficult to communicate uncertainty in the real world. We went through many iterations even for small annotations, which we will not even be able to fit into the paper. One grand challenge here is to cope with the complex social and political factors, such as pre-existing knowledge, partisan split, and affect polarization in the US. We do not want to make explicit recommendations here, but our results should be able to answer which visualization better fit a subjective or objective communicative goal. In the end, I'd like to invite you all to think about the real-world implications of visualizations and how we as a community approach this in future research. Thank you.